Hello, welcome. I'm zoomed in incredibly close. That's because today I'm gonna do like a get ready with me style video where I talk a little bit about how the rest of my no-buy went and do like a little debrief. I figure doing get ready with me style is going to minimize my chances of rambling for a million years. So, yeah, let's just jump right into it. I'm pretty sure my brows don't match. I was having a little trouble with this one, but I will deal with it later. For my look today, I'm going to be taking inspiration from Kat Revel here on YouTube. I will link her channel and Instagram account. I believe that she's currently more active on Instagram, but she's posted some incredible, colorful get ready with me's on YouTube, and she is just brilliant when it comes to working with color. I love watching her, like when she's in the middle of her process, choosing colors, combining things in different ways, choosing where to place them on the eye too. Like that's something that I don't have a natural instinct for, so I took a lot of inspiration from watching those videos. And there's one look I have in mind in particular to emulate, but there's a second one that's also sort of providing some inspiration. And I'm gonna start with these purples from the Beauty Bay Midnight palette. I recently repanned a bunch of these because of like some problems that I had when depotting them. So yeah, now I'm like much more inspired to use them than I was before. And I primed my lids already. I think I'm starting with the shade Lilac, and I'm also going to be going into the shade Catch and possibly the shade Lavendar, but I'm gonna try not to talk too much about the makeup as I'm applying it. I'll just put information below. Not that you necessarily care, but yeah, so I'm gonna talk about my 6-month no-buy, which I started in February of this year and I just ended on August 6th. And I think like overall, the experience was really great and was a good choice for me. I made a video talking about my no-buy in more depth and in particular the thoughts that were like leading up to it and why I felt it was necessary. But long story short, I struggle with moderation, I think. So for me, kind of setting myself up for success, it was the right decision to go more absolute. And I think it's easier to say no to yourself all the time than it is to constantly engage in that debate with yourself and have to decide each time whether, whether today is a no or today is a yes. That I found challenging. So I was glad I went on a no buy, and in a sense, like psychologically, I think there was some relief for me. And I've heard other people describe it that way too. For certain other people I've seen on YouTube, like for example, Chic Geek posted a video a few weeks ago now, debriefing about her 5-month no buy. And I think a lot of people say that it gets easier for them over time. My experience was that it got more challenging over time. And, I was only doing it for 6 months, so I don't know how it would have developed if I had done it for 12 months, for example. But at the beginning of my no-buy, I had some new makeup because I overbought. That's what led me to go on a no-buy. And so I had enough new makeup that I was not craving novelty. But about like 2 months in, I would say, I started to crave that novelty again. I always struggle to get matte shadows to look nice on my lid here. Yeah, so I'd say about 2 months in, I started craving novelty again, and after that, it was like it didn't really get better. And not buying makeup, it is not a hardship. I get that. Like, it was a choice. I use words like challenging because it was a personal growth thing, and personal growth can be a challenge. So yeah, so I did find that over time I started to lose steam, and it felt like I was sort of running a marathon at times. I think that shadow wasn't as deep as I wanted it to be, and now I regret having all this powder on my lids that I'm gonna have to go over, so we'll see how this goes. What was I saying? I'm terrible at multitasking. Why am I trying to do a get ready with me? By the end, the last like maybe 2 months, so say it was a 6-month no buy. For 2 months it was easy. For the last 2 months it really felt like when you're like running and you're just like, I'm ready to stop running now, you're out of breath. I felt like for 2 months I was like out of breath with my no buy. And like that's good, don't get me wrong, like you need to push yourself in order to make changes, etc. Like, is it just me? I feel like a matte lid, it always looks on me, it looks patchy and it looks like dry and crusty. And like hand in hand with that is the fact, which I talked about in my other video, that like my brain didn't, like my no-buy didn't fix anything or change the pathways in my brain long term, I don't think. I added a little light because the sun is in and out here. But yeah, I mean, 6 months didn't rewire my brain. And, you know, looking back, that was probably an unrealistic expectation anyway. But I think the experience was still definitely really useful. And it was useful information for me too, that like a low buy is harder. Like, I mean, I think it kind of is for me anyway. So I think going forward, like I'm not going to attempt another low buy necessarily until I have a little bit more practice with no buys. And I do plan on going on another no buy probably, well, either before the end of this year or by January of next year. Maybe February. We'll see. We'll see how I do like with these months like post no buy basically. Yeah, and I did make purchases while I was on the no buy. Like it was a replacement only no buy, and I bought a couple of replacement things, like mascaras, I guess, mostly. And then I made a couple of exceptional purchases while I was traveling, things that I wasn't able to get here in North America, and or wanted as a keepsake of a trip I took to France. But it was important to me, even though I was making replacement purchases, it was important to me to have certain months where I didn't make any purchases, because for me, I feel like the act of purchasing is important, like the act of checking out and tracking a package and then having something new that you try for the first time. That in and of itself is important beyond the actual makeup that I purchase. So the frequency of purchasing is important. Like because I'm getting a dopamine hit from making the purchase, I think there's a possibility of becoming addicted to making the purchase itself, if that makes sense. So anyway, so like I didn't want to like have little purchases spread out evenly throughout my no buy. So like I had made purchases in February, like the first week of February before I decided to go on a no buy. So it was important to me to not purchase anything in March. And then I got a couple of replacements and those exceptional purchases in April. Then I didn't buy anything in May. Then at the end of June, I did another replacement mascara purchase. That sounds really soon, but I keep 2 mascaras open most of the time, so like 2 categories of mascara. So then late June happened, and at that point, like I was feeling burnt out from the no buy, and I saw this palette that, as I mentioned in my other video, was shipping for, like it was pre-order shipping in mid-July, and it was coming from Australia, and I'd heard that shipping from Australia takes like weeks or even months. So I made the choice, which I talked through in that other video, like you can see me in real time making the choice to break my no buy. And at the time, I didn't think of it as breaking my no buy because it was going to arrive after my no buy, and also because of like some timing of a possible move. Like I just felt like I had justifications for placing the order then, and I really didn't think that it would arrive before my no buy ended. But what happened was it arrived in late July. It arrived a week after it shipped, which is crazy, like honestly impressive, but that felt really shitty. Like, and then I started to feel like I had broken my no-buy and I had made excuses. And I did put it away in a closet, so I didn't actually open it until my no-buy ended. But that whole thing felt absurd to me because when I started to think of it as having broken my no-buy because it arrived earlier than I expected, I was realizing, like, why did I think that my decision to break or not break my no-buy really was affected in any way by, like, the postal system? Like, like, it can't be the case that if it took 3 weeks to ship, then I didn't break my no-buy. And if it took 1 week to ship, then I did break my no-buy. Because I don't have control over how fast the shipping takes, right? And similarly, I went on the website a few times after pre-ordering the palette, and I saw, the first time I did that, I saw that it was out of stock. It was listed as out of stock with no future restocks. Because the other thing is, when I placed the order, it was saying that it was the last restock, the last chance to get this palette, right? So when I saw that the pre-order had sold out, I felt justified, like, that I had made that decision. I was like, oh, good thing I ordered it, even though it was my no-buy. And then, you know, a couple weeks later, I was back on their website. I'm not the only one who stalks the website of beauty brands, right? Like, I know this is irrational behavior, but I was back on their site and I saw that the same palette was now listed as in stock, and it said, again, it said last restock, but this time it said ships in mid-August. So they had just extended the pre-order period, which is fine, great for other people. But for me, I saw that and my stomach just sank. I was like, fuck, like, I guess I could have gotten it had I waited. Therefore, I guess I broke my no-buy. And again, it's like, these things don't have anything to do with each other. Like, this brand's stocking policy is not what determines whether or not I broke my no-buy. And so if it counts as breaking my no-buy under some of these circumstances, then it counts as breaking my no-buy under all of these circumstances. Yeah, and essentially, I had control over one part of this process, which was whether I was gonna check out or not. And that is the decision that broke my no-buy, not any other piece of this weird, like, web of justifications I had constructed in my mind. Okay, I'm gonna move on because I feel like I just keep futzing with the eyes. Like, it's okay. You know, at the end of the day, it's okay. Especially because this was at the 5-month mark of my no-buy. Sorry, there's a truck on my street. I keep hoping it'll go away, and then it keeps not going away, so I'm just talking through it. But yeah, this was at the 6-month mark of my no-buy, so, you know, realistically, if my brain wasn't changed at that point, and I doubt that this decision, like, made the difference, like, and was the reason that my brain didn't change or anything like that, I don't think it was the end of the world, and I'm not trying to beat myself up over it. But I broke my no-buy. I don't consider my no-buy to be a failure because of that. I think it was a success because of the things that it's taught me, and also just because, you know, there's a lot of makeup that I didn't buy because of my no-buy. But I didn't want to break my no-buy. Like, I wanted to have a no-buy that I didn't break, of course. And I don't want to break my no-buy the next time I'm on a no-buy. So yeah, I mean, 5 months into my no-buy, it goes to show that I was still susceptible to the tricks that my brain likes to play on me to try and get me to buy things. So now that I'm no longer on a no-buy, like, I realized during the no-buy, I realized a lot of things that were missing in my collection. This probably sounds like a trick my brain is playing, but I don't think it is. I think that, you know, I'm like okay with seeing myself now as more of a makeup collector and somebody who will benefit from trying different formulas and stuff. So I am trying new eyeshadow formulas. Like post no buy, I am doing that, and I have placed a lot of orders, and I do need to slow down. Like I won't I won't go into it in this video, but I do need to slow down, and I'm like trying out a new system for the next little period at least, where I'm gonna try and place orders only on my paydays. So once every 2 weeks when I like replenish my discretionary budget. Because yeah, before I was like really just not thinking about it, like just making all the purchases I wanted to make. And don't get me wrong, like I think there was value in that. That was, you know, it lasted 3 weeks. I think that there was some value in that because one of the things I wanted to do moving out of my no buy was to just put less pressure on every little decision and every single purchase, because I found that that was part of what caused me to obsess before my no buy, was a desire to spend my money wisely and make only the best, most thoughtful purchasing decisions. And that just caused me to think about it way too much for too much time, and to place like just too much mental energy in the process of shopping around for and buying makeup, if that makes sense. You can check out my video on the no buy if you want much more detail on the minutia of that. This truck is just doing the absolute most right now. Anyway, sorry about that. I fixed my brows, question mark. I hope it looks better, more symmetrical, potentially. So, I mean, it was disappointing that the no buy didn't like completely repair my relationship to all these things. And I wonder if that's possible. Like, I don't mean to make this as a comparison, but it's gonna sound like I'm making this comparison. But I mean, like, a lot of people, when they have addictions, they just can't interact with those things in the future. Like, you know, people identify as alcoholics, for example, many years after they have been sober. And I'm not comparing those things. And I don't think what I have is like a genuine addiction. Like, even keeping in mind that people do have like genuine shopping addictions, I don't think that is what I'm experiencing. But it makes me wonder if, like, I think that to truly not have to worry about these things, I could just stop interacting with makeup content, stop interacting with Instagram. But I think that that would be a big loss at the same time, because I get so much inspiration from other people in the makeup community. And of course, if I stopped using makeup, stopped applying makeup, stopped loving makeup, then I would stop wanting to buy makeup. But I don't want to give up that creative outlet, and I think that would be sad, and it would make me sad in a way if it's not possible to love and use makeup as a hobby without having like a fucked up relationship with consumerism. Like, I don't think they necessarily have to have anything to do with each other, but in the landscape that we exist in, like, they obviously do. So I guess it would make sense that this would be an ongoing struggle that you can't just one day fix and then have it be fixed forever. So in the future, I might try out doing like a shorter term no buy, because I'll be honest, I'm hesitant to embark on another no buy, given that my association with it is currently a little bit negative, even though I think it does me good, and like I think I will need to do that again in order to not over consume. So I think it might be easier for me to like make myself do that, take that step again, if I know that it's only for like 2 months, for example, or 3 months. I don't know, there's lots of models for how people do this, so that's something I'll be keeping in mind. But I would like to be able to like not be on a no buy during Black Friday, for example, and there's certain indie brands that only restock at certain periods, and then like you kind of miss out if you don't order at that time. So because it's only been 3 weeks and I've made a lot of purchases and I can't sustain that level of spending, so I might be looking at doing like a no buy October or something, and then trying to like make some purchases for Black Friday and then going back on the no buy. So yeah, so there's a lot of possible models I'm just keeping in mind, and right now it would be great if I could just hold out until the next payday and kind of have that be my schedule, because I think there's always benefit to waiting. Like even if you waited until your payday and then you like bought 10 things, like I think you're still probably gonna buy less in the long run than if you just bought things every time the desire struck you. But obviously like even more moderation than that would be ideal. Like I'm not saying like I'm happy with landing in these places. I'm just saying that like it's an ongoing process is all. I'm really sorry about the truck. It's really loud right here, like even with the windows closed. So I don't know how it'll be on camera. Anyway, but I will say that I think that I've like made pretty good purchases, and I'm really enjoying the things that I have bought since the end of the no buy. And for the most part, they were all things that had been on my wish list for months. And then the other night, there was an exception to that, which was a few shadows that I ordered from Glam Shop, which I had not planned to do because the shipping from Poland is so expensive. But I really like the Natasha Denona palette that was launched. Like I've been eyeing this shade Tombac from them and trying to find dupes for it, and I was like, for a second I was like, because it's a taupe shade and that Natasha Denona palette looked like it had nice taupes in it, which I don't even know that it does, but I was like, what if I got the Natasha Denona palette instead of like, you know, to satisfy that craving that I've been having for this shade Tombac. And then I was like, well, for $69, like I can afford the $30 shipping from Poland. Like it's still cheaper than that, so whatever. So I went on and I was like shopping around for things to fill up my cart a little bit, not for free shipping, but just to make the shipping worth it. And then I was on YouTube looking at swatches, and like hours passed, and it was one of those experiences where like it gets dark and you don't notice, and like I don't know, it sounds embarrassing and sad to talk about, but I was just in troll mode for a couple of hours, and I made a moderate purchase from Glam Shop. Yes, I'm paying $30 shipping. It's insane, but overall, a moderate purchase, and I'm happy with the shades I chose, and I think it'll be good to just finally have that shade instead of like, you know, feeling like I'm searching for a dupe for it or whatever. And yeah, and that's fine. But I noticed that, you know, that I was entering troll mode and that I was starting to want things that I hadn't wanted, or make purchases that I hadn't planned on, I guess, if that makes sense. I feel like there's a distinction. And yeah, and going into troll mode, I was like, yeah, I don't wanna go back there, so I think I need a change. And that's where I was sort of like thinking about giving myself more of a schedule for making these purchases. Yeah, and after that, like it was a really beautiful night out that night actually, and there was like this really nice yellow moon, and I took a bike ride around my neighborhood that night. It was like 12:30 or something at night, and it was really nice because when I walk, I kind of just cover the same, you know, the same few places that are within my walking radius. But on a bike, I could go so much farther, and like I don't know why I don't do that more often. So I just I went on this beautiful bike ride, and I read a book. I finished a book for the first time in months. Like I've been struggling with focus and stuff for the past few years, and that's part and parcel, I think, with my whole relationship with makeup recently, but yeah, basically I had a few hours in troll mode and I feel like I felt it. I was able to regulate it a little bit and I had a really, really lovely evening. And then afterward, I just, like, I felt this sense of calm. So that's a win. Like, that's progress. Kat works a lot with beauty-based shades, but I will not lie, I find these shades not always the easiest to work with, the mattes. I find that they can kind of just disappear and they don't blend as well as some of my other mattes. I've been futzing forever. Like a wash of matte, that's supposed to be like the easiest look to do, but it is, I don't know, I just struggle with this kind of look so much. I'd love to be able to just leave it like this and pull this off. I don't like it on myself. I'm gonna go in with a shimmer. I'm gonna take Moon Magic from the Rose Quartz palette, and I'd like to just tap this on so that you can still see the purple underneath. Oh, that's so beautiful. This is the other problem, is that I've made so many purchases recently that I haven't had time to explore all of them fully. Like, I've only used this palette a couple of times. Okay, this is definitely overtaking the whole wash of matte thing. This is a shimmer look now. Wow. This shade is gorgeous. It reminds me a lot of one of my favorite eyeshadows, which is the Iridescent Blue from the Blue Moon palette from ColourPop. But this is so much sparklier. The sparkle particles are much bigger, and it also has a like pinkish purple flip to it. So yeah, it's the elevated version of that for sure. I am gonna use that ColourPop Iridescent in my inner corner. Oh yeah. So that was the shade Lavendar, and I'm going over that with this shade Periwinkle from Blue Moon. Not Blue Moon, Midnight. And I think I'm going to take a combination of those same shadows in the outer corners a little bit. I'm just further softening the edges here with like a little bit of face powder. I like a winged shape on myself, but I prefer it when it's really, really soft. These two liners are both new new to me, from LA Girl. I have a purple shade and a blue shade, and I'm hesitating between them. Ooh, I think I'm gonna go with blue. Okay, here is the final look. The shape is a little wonky, but overall I love how it turned out. I just added some mascara. This is the e.l.f. Big Mood. I do have to curl my lashes again because my lash lift has fallen. It's been over 2 months now, so I mean, it's to be expected. And what else did I add? Oh, the NYX Soft Matte Lip Cream in the shade Toulouse. And here we are zoomed out to a more normal distance. I definitely didn't have to futz with the mattes as much as I did since I just topped them with a shimmer, so sorry for putting you through that, but thank you so much for watching and listening to me ramble about my no-buy. If you're on a no-buy right now, you can do it. I'm rooting for you. If you're not on a no-buy, or God forbid, if you are somebody I know in real life and you are not actually a makeup lover, we may sound crazy to you. And we're a little bit crazy. But please like and subscribe if you appreciate this kind of content. I have lots more on the way, and I hope I will see you there. Bye!